Series,
The judge had
local
already
Woking
described the
news,
treatment of Sarah Sharif at the
Sarah
judge's
Jaree,
own father and stepmother as torture.
court
And
case,
Mr. Justice Kavanagh expressed
UK
disquiet
24.
about a child being homeschooled for whom the authorities had welfare concerns. Sarah had been known
This
for
is
social
local, near around
services
Woking
since
town.
before she was born, and yet was allowed to be taken out of
It's a
school by
Muslim
her
family.
parents in the weeks before she died. Today, the government
Doesn't matter
proposed
which
legislation
people they are, who they
taking
are.
away the
Every
authority
family
of
we know in
mothers
the
to raise
UK
their
are hiding
children in
secrets
their
from
own
everyone.
home,
There's
with the
darkness
child
out
the
there,
subject
guys.
of a
Doesn't
protection
matter if you're Christian or
investigation.
Muslim
More on
or
that
which
from the
religion you are.
newsroom with
There's a
Alison
lot of this
Hall.
going
But
on out there.
first, here's
A
Dan
lot of
Russell with a final
child
conclusion of the
cruelty, and we
horrifying
need to
case of
find out who's
child
doing it.
cruelty. And there are
So we need
details
to
of
get a
those
witch hunt
victims
under the way, in
who
my
are
opinion.
distressing.
Take this people out. We need to stop this injustice going on out there. So your parents, whoever you are out there, be on the alert and keep people like children like this safe from harm if you can. Unless you're around the town of Woking locally. You hear that?
Sarah's death
Diabolical,
is
isn't
the
it?
culmination of years of neglect, frequent assaults, and what
So
can
don't
only
turn
be
a blind eye
described
to
as the
this.
torture
Report
of
it.
this small child.
Report it.
Judges must be
Please, for the love
careful
of
about
God.
using the word torture.
Everyone here has a
It
right
should
to live on
not
this
be
planet Earth,
overused.
in the UK
It is no
especially.
exaggeration
So no
to
matter what
describe
background
the
they're from,
campaign of abuse against Sarah as torture.
Her torturers, her father Irfan Sharif and stepmother Binish
crooks,
Batul, were arrested on a flight back from
crooks,
Pakistan
crooks,
after
crooks,
36 days of the crime.
crooks.
Last week,
Bad
both
men.
were found guilty of
Bad
murder.
people.
Today, the judge sentenced them to life with minimum terms in prison of 40 years. Sarah Sharif had been known to social service since before she was born. She was twice in foster care before the age of 3 because of violence in the home, and social workers had considered taking her into care permanently. She ended up living with her mother until there were new allegations of violence by her. Age 6, she returned to live with her father and stepmother, but the violence immediately started again in her new home. The judge said her killers singled her out because she
Bad
was a girl and from a previous
people.
marriage. But in police interviews
Cruelty.
after their arrests,
Absolute cruelty. Cruelty to children.
No comment.
Cruelty.
About her at all?
You
No
cruel people. Cruel
Sarah's
people.
body was found by police at her home in Woking after her family.
It's a stain on our town of Woking.
Burnt by an iron, scalded by hot water, and being bitten by her stepmother.
Crooks.
Police went there after receiving this call from
It's one of the many
her father.
people we just need to keep an eye out.
I killed my daughter. I killed my daughter. My daughter is dead.
Who's killed your daughter?
It's me.
For weeks, he'd been beating her with a cricket bat and tying her up, leaving her with more than 25 broken bones
Oh my
and
God.
a serious brain injury.
Oh, that's
On the day
cruelty.
Sarah died, he was called home because
Cook-
she was deteriorating,
cooks.
but stopped at the local shop to buy some vapes.
What a scandal.
When he got home, she was floppy, but he decided she was faking, so he beat her with this metal pole. Moments later, she died.
What brutality.
5
So
months
Sarah's
before
going to
she
get
was killed,
their ass
Sarah
kicked for this.
School saw bruising on her
Sorry,
face.
County Council,
Social
you've got to get
services
yourself
asked
together.
US to
Get your act
monitor,
together. You
but soon
get your act
afterwards,
together.
parents just
Especially
removed
disabled people out there, kids and all that.
It's unusual for
For the love of God,
judges to comment on matters of
don't let
public
my people
policy
down.
passing sentence, but today Mr. Justice Kavanagh went out of his way to express his disquiet.
It's embarrassing for Woking. What a stain on the community.
Welfare concerns being taken out of school to be homeschooled.
This brings into sharp relief dangers of unsupervised homeschooling of vulnerable children. It is a matter of concern. Parents who are abusing or who have malign intent towards their children appear to be able to homeschool more or less at will and without supervision.
Neighbours held a vigil this weekend for a little girl who wanted to win X Factor, but will instead be remembered for the brutal way she was killed. An
What a
independent
shame.
review will now examine why Surrey County Council, the family court, the police and her school were unable to prevent the death.
What a shambles. What a loss.
Well, the judge highlighted called the dangers of the unsupervised homeschooling of vulnerable children.
Ridiculous.
Alison Holt is here with me along with Daniel. Alison, a change in the law on homeschooling was brought forward by the government precisely because of this appalling case.
Yes, and we have had cases in the past where homeschooling has been an element where parents who were trying to manipulate the situation had removed their child. So this legislation is designed to try to tackle that. There will be a register of
That's a
children
Pat,
who
stop
are not
it.
in school, and we're told that will mean monitoring visits, although we don't know how often those will happen. In Surrey, where Sarah lives, there is already
Surrey Council
a
got
register,
lots
and she was
to say sorry
teaching
for.
school holidays. So the change that might have made the biggest difference in her case is that any family where there has been a child protection plan or an inquiry will have to have the permission of the local council if they want to homeschool their child. Generally, if a council thinks the education or home environment of a child who's being schooled at home is not suitable, then they will be able to say that child must come into school. There will also be an identifier number for
Well, the verdict's
child.
out. The
This
guilty
will make
party
it
are
easier for
guilty.
authorities to track concerns if a family moves from area to area. But perhaps the biggest shift in this legislation is towards early intervention, trying to work with families early on. The thresholds for that are high at the moment, and that would hopefully prevent a family reaching a crisis.
Sure. And Daniel, big question is now being raised about Sarah's 5 siblings who are currently in Pakistan.
Yeah, when Sarah was murdered, 5 of her siblings were living in that same family home in Woking. They flew to Pakistan when her father, stepmother and uncle fled after the murder, and they've been living there ever since with their grandfather in the city of Jhelum. There are court proceedings both here in London and in Lahore in Pakistan to decide where they should spend the rest of their lives. We're following the proceedings in both countries, but we are limited by the judges to how many details we can report. One option is for all the 5 children to remain with their grandfather in Pakistan. That's certainly what he wants. But another option would be for them to be brought back here to the UK into some kind of care setting. The judge at the Old Bailey today made it quite clear that he believes that the 5 children will have seen or heard some of the torture that Sarah suffered, so they'll need some very specialist care. So the future of those 5 siblings whose parents are now facing a life sentence for murder is still very much unresolved.
All right, Daniel, thank you. Daniel Sanford and Alison.
Oh, it's just crime, isn't it? Terrible staying on Woking community. Hope you like the local news. Please subscribe to Simon Jones. My happy. And now I've got the Russia thing to worry about. Please subscribe to Simon H. Jones. My bad.